Hey, how you doing? It's John Wilkins from Arete by JW Training Center. Uh, we're going to be talking about today with Eman, the empowered journey, a woman's fight for fitness. Okay. What we're doing here is we're just going to go through the life of somebody that decided to try fitness and lose weight and feel better and obviously look better. And we're here with Eman today. Eman,
How's it going?
how's it
Hey,
going?
everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for
All
having
right,
me. Yeah.
no problem. Let's just tell everybody your full name and your age and all that stuff. And
So, my name's Eman. I'm 35 years old, born and raised in Jersey, first generation born in America. My parents are Sudanese immigrants that came here in the late 80s for a better life. And yeah.
all right, so I've known you for a few years now, and we've talked hundreds of times and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we want to get out there, like, just like, what's the why behind your fitness journey? Like, where did it first start?
I always noticed from a young age that I did like any type of physical activity. As someone that was quite hyper growing up, I felt like fitness, as far as sports goes, I played basketball, I played softball, I loved gym, which may seem abnormal for a little girl in the 90s, but I did. And it was just the high intensity energy. I just wasn't able yet to figure out what to do with it. It was more so like, this is fun. So it started for me that really early on with that kind of stuff. So
All right, that's cool. Um, so, so we were talking before, and you said that you've tried things in the past. What are
yes,
some of those things you tried?
tried just going to the gym on my own, tried joining the YMCA, tried doing things on my own, but it didn't seem like it was enough because I feel like also mentally I wasn't at a space to discipline myself. I think I also needed some guidance in that type of area, which enjoyed fitness and sports, but I wasn't familiar of what it takes to execute that efficiently or to get in shape or to push yourself into challenging moments within that kind of journey.
And then, like, you go into the gym and just you see machines. You have zero
I have no
idea
idea.
what to do. So the first thing they do is you go in and they show you a circuit, right? That
Yeah.
comes free with the membership.
Yeah.
And then after that, you either have to hire a trainer or you're left with your own, you know.
And it would, and that's exactly what would happen. Or let's be real, you try it out, and then 3 weeks later, not even you're not going back into the gym. You feel a little discouraged because it's true. You go into some of these environments, and yes, they show you a little something, something, but then they leave you by yourself to kind of fend for yourself. And I think that when you don't also have the familiarity with those types of things, it's easy to just go and say, well, you know what, I tried my best. So maybe it's time to just like take a break. But that break turns into 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then you
Right,
find
right.
yourself kind of back to square one with your fitness journey. It's a never ending sort of like you're stuck. You're stuck. You say you're going to keep doing something and then you don't. And that kind of went on for so many years with me. And it's a struggle. It is a struggle. You have to find something in yourself to like push yourself.
And no results, right? You sit
No,
there, you're like, yeah.
absolutely. No,
So
no
you're
results.
still not better off than you were when you first started, you
Money
know?
wasted, no results. And then you're talking to yourself again 6 months later, talking about I'm gonna
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this, I'm
yeah.
gonna change this, and it's the same thing over and over again. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of people can relate to that. But there is, there is progress, and there is something at the end of like the tunnel, as corny as that may sound. You just got to find it,
Right,
and you got to find the right people also
right,
as well.
right. So, which then that brought you to joining Muay Thai,
Yes.
right?
So with Muay Thai, my parents, they moved into Sussex County around 2016. My mother had bought a home, and we were living in Essex County, and I was still working in that kind of area, but financially things were just not where they needed to be. So I decided to move with my family over here. And I thought to myself, I'm like interested in working out again. And I just didn't know where to start. It wasn't until my brother was like, hey, you want to check out, there's like a MMA gym, and it's Jim Miller, the brothers, they own this gym, and it would be kind of cool if we could go check it out and try it out. I know you were always interested. And my brother used to train himself with Muay Thai, so he was familiar with it. So he tried to just kind of get me into it as well, since this was like a new space. So we went in and we tried, we tried a class. It was like a one-on-one. And I really enjoyed it, my brother did as well, but I decided to end up coming back after the session and continuing on. It was kind of like, all right, I'm going to try it out with my brother. He decided he didn't want to do it anymore, which is fine. And I kind of just kept at it. And it was hard at first because you don't really know what you're doing.
Right.
It's a new space, a new environment, and that can be scary, especially for also a young woman, in this kind of male-dominated, I think, environment. So that I started there. And when I first started there, it was more so, all right, I'm just going to come in and try to lose weight.
And for our listeners and people that don't know what Muay Thai is, it's almost like, I think the way our instructor,
Amir. Yeah.
The way he explains it, for people who just don't know what it is, he just says kickboxing.
Yeah.
It's a lot more than kickboxing, but he just says kickboxing just for people to get the recognition of what it is.
Absolutely.
But for us, Muay Thai is hands, elbows, knees, kicks. So it really increases the things you can use to strike.
Yeah, more
so
weapons.
In that sense, right, for a girl, going places, not just exercise for just getting in shape and losing weight, and we'll talk about the weight loss in a little bit,
right,
but just feeling powerful, feeling like if somebody was to do something, if you went somewhere to a store and you're a little afraid of walking out, now you feel a little stronger. You feel like, okay, look, I'm able to take care of myself as well.
Absolutely. You do definitely, I think, after a while, especially with the journey, you do feel a level of confidence, and in a good way, right? Realistically, someone uses a weapon, that's a very different story, right? But navigating and walking into places, realizing that, okay, if there was a situation and someone did attack me, I could defend myself and run off, you know? Am I going to stand toe-to-toe with a large man and fight him? No. But I might actually hit him and take his legs out and then run, because that's...
Or he'd just be surprised that you actually
I think so.
Back.
Or you're slipping just something, a movement, which you typically might not... I might have not known several years ago. I think that being also in shock is a very different thing. You never know. But I think that now versus a few years ago, different situation. I know that for sure if someone were to already, because we spar, we do things, we're kind of used to kind of like, what's this person doing, you know? So if someone were to attack me or even try to get close, I feel like already defensively I would know how to just like move out the way, and, carry on with trying to flee a situation if I needed to protect myself. Which is great about Muay Thai. And it's also spiritual too.
Yeah.
It's helped me so much also on that kind of level as well, because, you realize it's this amazing sport that you can throw elbows and punch and it seems so violent, but the spirituality that you get from it also is magnificent. And the people that created this art form, the Thai people, they're also very lovely. And when you see them and you see the community and how they are with one another, they go from literally trying to bash each other's heads to, all right, that's it, we're done. Hugging afterwards. And it's not odd. It's this like level of respect. And I think that that's also what even attracted me more to that kind of Muay Thai journey, is what you get from it as well. The essence of the people, the aura, the tradition. And it excites me because I want to go to Thailand myself. In the near future to meet these wonderful people that have brought sort of this art form to me. Because it happened really by accident. It truly did. So.
And did you go into that Muay Thai class thinking you wanted to lose weight, or that was kind of like a side effect of you just moving,
That's a great question, because I think in the back of my mind, it was like, yeah, I want to lose weight, but it was more so because I started getting really into it. The goal wasn't to lose weight anymore. As I know that sounds like odd, but I think that I just was more so focused on getting better at it.
Right.
So, but the weight, yes, gradually, because I got more hyper focused and more interested in it as an art form, yes, the weight did come off.
And you probably thought to yourself, well, if I learn all these kicks and punches and stuff and I can't move,
Yes.
I can move better if I was
Absolutely.
lighter.
Yes.
I had better range of motion. I had the body fat in the way.
Exactly. I think after a while too, yes, I was losing weight, but there was a moment of being a little stagnant because there were still limitations that my body had, even though I was losing weight because I
Right.
wasn't doing the stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about
Yeah.
leading up to the stuff with you and the functional training and et cetera with the bar. But yeah, that did definitely happen, but you kind of it just stopped.
Yeah.
Like I lost weight and I felt like I was getting better at Muay Thai, but it kind
And
of stopped.
it was missing something.
It was missing something because anybody can sit there and walk into a gym and hit a pad and it can just pop and make it sound loud.
Yeah.
You can kick hard, you can do all of these variations, but are you doing it correctly?
Right.
And if you're not doing it correctly, something is not working here, body-wise. And you know, I feel like with a lot of the workouts that we do with you, that really transitioned my journey tremendously.
Right. So at that point in Muay Thai, you probably needed to lose like what 40 or 50 pounds, you know?
Absolutely.
And what made you like you have to pass me to get to your class,
Right.
right?
Yes.
My program, you got to walk by it.
Right.
What was your thought process? And just real quick, my program is based on functional training, and it's all inner core and alignment. To reduce like nagging injuries and all that stuff, aligning your hips, and there's 5 muscles in the inner core rather than just the core. So you have your multifidus muscles that's wrapped around your spine. You have your diaphragm, which people don't even realize that's part of the inner core. You have your internal obliques. You have your pelvic floor muscles, and then you have your transverse abdominis. Now, all of those 5, I travel all over the place. And I've only had 2 people out of the hundreds and hundreds of places I've been to with all these magnificent PhDs, masters, exercise science, and they could not give me that. They couldn't give me those answers, you know? So I went deeper. So I armed myself with my program, and my program is called ICC 30. And the reason why it is because I stands for inner, C stands for core, the other C stands for connection, right? And then the 30 means you activate all that core stuff within the first day that you're doing stuff, but you kind of master it within 30 days, right? So we added that piece to our strength training, our athleticism, our sport, and all that stuff. So I'm kind of slipping into a niche in my life that, you know, even because I've repaired some injuries, you know, my lower back and my knees and all that stuff. Right. I tore my Achilles, and we realized that when I can align myself and have better posture, I got a better chance for everything, you know? So getting back now, just explain that program. So as you're walking down the hall to go to class, what'd you think of when you walked by?
Well, walking by, it sounded insane. I didn't realize in the moment because it was briefly, I just kind of took a peep. It looked very intense in here, which is great, but I had no idea until I walked in myself. I didn't really think too much of it past looking inside for a moment. It wasn't really until initially we had a conversation, and I'm trying to remember because it's so many years now, but I remember, I think you possibly were having maybe a private or something with Amr when we actually got into the conversation.
There was,
yeah. Yes, and
yeah.
I could be wrong, but I wasn't sure if like there were already some guys coming before I started the circuit with you guys, because I know I started with a bunch of people that no longer do it. However, at the time when I started, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, that was Mikey. Mikey was in here.
Yes, I think there were people that were already doing it. So once again, even though they were doing it and they were coming back to class, I still didn't know what I was walking into, but I knew that they were very like enthusiastic about it. They really liked it. They liked the things that you were talking about. But until I actually stepped foot into this space, that's when I kind of realized, okay, this isn't this isn't the type of workouts or the attempts or even people that you've tried to professionally maybe pay at one point to show you. It was very different and very challenging because I feel as though you have to really, you got to tap into something in here. And not only do you have to tap into something, you know, there are also other people that are doing the same kind of workouts with you, similar. So you also want to come in not being so discouraged because the workouts are hard, but also looking at everybody else and seeing that everybody in here is after sort of the same goal. And I think that
And had started at some point.
at some
right?
point. And then also it's so encouraging because it's amazing to also watch because, you know, I'm a 35-year-old woman, but you have 8-year-olds in here. You
Yeah.
have 9-year-olds in here.
And they're passing you saying,
they're
excuse
passing
me.
you, excuse me.
With the
and
same weight.
with the same weight. And you just kind of sit there and you're just like, ooh, I got to do better, you know? But once again, watching examples of those children, watching the high school kids, watching some of the young girls as well in their sports, it was also sort of, like I said, very encouraging. It kind of lit sort of a fire in me that was like, okay, this is very difficult in the moment. This is hard for me, but I don't know, something in me was just like, stick it out because I'm someone, if I'm being transparent, when things get hard, I tend to not do them anymore. I quit. And that's why with the fitness, and when you were asking me earlier, there were so many moments in my life where, yes, it was easy to just be like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right.
But for some reason in here, I was like, this is hard. I also felt like I was getting older. Are you going to just give up? Or are you just, is this going to be your life every time?
Right, and it kind of sets a tone for the rest of your life.
Yes.
Like, am I just going to keep dodging hard things?
Right, that's what I felt
Even though they're good for me, you know?
I felt that way, and I felt like, and I would tell you, I would be like, I'd be dreading that Saturday morning, you know, not because, you know, you don't want to be here, because you know it's something that is not going to come easy to you. You have to also be able to take the ego out of, hey, you're not going to be able to do this efficiently on day one, but if you keep at it, you will see the progress. And I think a lot of people are not willing to do that.
Right.
And I think a lot of people are not willing to see the results as quick as they want, but they need to be realistic. It doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
So every time, and that feeling did change. It does change. That kind of anxiety that I would get before coming to a Saturday workout, that started to change within, obviously, for me, the first year.
Right.
Because it was like, okay, what are you afraid of?
Right.
It's the same different type of workouts. It's not going to be easy, but what are you so afraid of? But gradually, after a while, that feeling did go away. And weirdly enough, you start enjoying some of the stuff. Even the hard stuff, you might dislike it in the moment, but I'm telling you, after a while, I'm saying it for myself, as someone that has still struggles with many things, if you just keep at something, especially working out or whatever your sport is, from me to you, you can do it.
Right.
I believe that because there are things that I have seen within myself that have changed for the better because I kept at it,
Right.
if I'm being honest. So.
And the cool thing is, we tweaked your diet. So the main thing behind what we do as far as nutrition is, we find out like what your body fat is, right? And then we say, how many calories do I need every day and where are they coming from?
Right.
Right? So fats, proteins, you know, your vegetables, your carbohydrates, are they all, and what is the ratios, right? So we don't just do a low carb diet. We don't do this kind of diet. We don't do this kind of diet. And then what we do is we take what we're targeting for that day as far as proteins.
Yeah.
Like say it's 100 grams of protein. I'm going to take that 100 grams and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to eat 5 meals a day. So I'm going to disperse and I have 20 grams of protein in each meal, right?
Yeah.
So once we figured out all that stuff, you just learn how to eat. So now we're eating for what we're going to do,
Absolutely.
right? It's not just like, oh, I tried this diet, this didn't work. I tried this diet, this didn't work. Now we know our requirements and then we get our requirements in every single day. Anything extra, we don't eat for it, we pull from the body fat. So now as you're going along, you start to realize I got stuck here just doing my cardio stuff and I got to a certain point. Now I added in the strength training, the core training, which is full body, from the hands all the way to the feet, right? In a plank position, and it's an isometric contraction. So you're contracting for time, which is what everyday life is. We don't just repetition.
No.
It's like that. So now we're toning up the whole body, right? We're coming almost like when I was with Armor and Muay Thai, he says your body's is like the suit of armor. You know what I mean? And I'm getting kicked in the leg, I'm getting kicked in the waist, and I'm sitting there going, man, that hurts, you know? But after a while, when I realized, like, where's this suit of armor coming from? It's not gonna come from me squatting. It's not gonna come from me deadlifting. It's gonna come from me developing my entire body. That's why you see those Muay Thai guys kick over those bamboo trees and stuff like that. His body did it, not just his leg.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you take all those concepts, and for years, for 30 years, I've been a trainer, and I've been always intrigued by different types of workouts, not different types just because I wanted to be different. Different types, like go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, go find out why, right? And then as you're going along and you're doing your eating right, and then you're doing your Muay Thai, and you're doing your functional training, and your core training, out of that plank position, we're hardening up, right? So now you're solid. So now underneath the strip of body fat, you got a nice solid body, right? And then if we keep going and keep eating right, the fat will come off. So that's in turn, over time, following those principles, how you lost over 40 pounds.
Yeah, because it was also realistic. It wasn't some fad diet. It wasn't something that you felt like you were starving yourself and you were gone. This was the first time that I also was on sort of a plan that I was like, wow, this actually works. With working out in here and then also doing cardio also every day with Muay Thai, everything kind of went hand in hand. And it was to the point that I remember I was trying to drop weight, that I was dropping more than I needed to.
Yeah, right.
Because I was only supposed to be a weight for a smoker fight that I was doing. And I mean, I had plenty of time still left, but it was like, wow, the weight is just like
falling off.
It's falling off.
It's like almost like a machine, like it's a well-oiled machine.
Yes,
you know.
and you feel better, and you did feel a lot more lean, and you felt faster, and everything else just kind of like started to fall together, especially just physically what I was also able to do when I dropped the weight. That was the significant difference as well.
And I always tell people, I'm like, look, it's good when it's good, right?
Yeah.
So what about things in your life that come up that make you still reach for something that you ain't supposed to eat? You know what I mean? By doing something, like by doing a diet and jumping on and jumping off, you never really truly see how I'm going about this. I'm getting my carbs, my proteins, all that stuff in, right? And then I eat bad for a little while where I'm not following those things, and then I might go back up. And then all of a sudden, the thing that you got down, you disregard, and you go, okay, let me find another diet. That worked, but it ain't working now.
Yeah.
So if I'm required to have stuff, why wouldn't it work all the time? Even if I go off and get back on. And that's the trouble with weight loss. So you've been able to lose that weight. You went up a little bit at times, like got a little tough, you know.
Of course. It's
And
just,
then you've been able to trim it back off the same way. So that's more of a lifestyle.
and continuing on with that lifestyle, which is the hard part.
Right.
Right. Which could get easy, right, at some point. But like you always say, you have it's up here. You got to get up there and make sure that it's in sync with everything else, especially like the discipline. And everybody's journey is different, right? But I think that once you have, like you said, the foundation,
Yep.
it shouldn't be hard for you to get back to it and stick with it.
Right.
You know, so I agree. But looking at that, yes, with the food and stuff, it was definitely different. And it was things that like you also, you're like, I like these things too. Because I'm going to be honest with you, my biggest issue was never overeating. It was more so not eating the right things at the appropriate times and thinking that the weight is going to, no, it doesn't work that way. It never will. I mean, even if you're under eating, you're not supposed to starve yourself.
Right.
Like that's just going to obviously store more fat and things like that. So I
And
also.
then make you quickly, as soon as you eat something,
yes.
make you quickly jump back up again.
And that's not good. And like
Yeah.
you said, that's not good for your body, especially as you age.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And even some just small little lifestyle changes. Like if you don't prepare, like I always make dinner
Yeah.
and I make enough for lunch the next day.
Smart.
You know what I mean? So I don't have to think about lunch.
Absolutely.
Right?
It's
The
already
breakfast
there.
is always the same. a couple eggs, egg whites, olive oil, slices of avocado,
Yeah.
and then for somebody that, maybe an athlete or something, I'll throw something in there as far as like a sweet potato or something carberous for them in the morning,
That's good stuff.
But typically when we age, I can't eat as much as I used to eat, right?
Okay.
So what I do is I do smaller, more frequent meals. So I'm eating every 2.5 to 3 hours rather than eating a big meal and then that was for lunch and eat a huge meal for dinner.
Right.
I now eat my biggest meal in the morning and lunch, and then my smallest meal is dinner.
Okay.
Because I know by the time I get done, I'm shot. I'm gonna sit down.
It doesn't
I'm gonna
feel
watch
great.
a little TV. I'm gonna do some work on my computer, with my business, and then I'm gonna probably fall asleep doing that. So now I get this big meal sitting in my stomach till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
It doesn't feel too good.
Yeah. So what would you say, like, if somebody's watching for the first time? What would you say to like a new person looking at this, saying, the whole thing is empowered journey, a woman's fight for fitness?
I would say, because it's been a very long one and I feel like I'm still going through it in the best way possible. The first thing is whether you're going into Muay Thai, and I get girls that message me all the time and ask me questions because I feel like it's such a sport that I'll say particularly in this area, there isn't a lot of women presence, and I try to, when I'm at my gym specifically, when I do see a young lady walk in, I'm very encouraging. And the things that I would say to these girls or anyone overall is the first hard part is walking into the gym.
Yeah.
You walk around and it depends on the environment that you're in, and a lot of things and factors come into play because, you walk in and you might just see a room full of guys.
Yeah.
And that, let alone, it could be a little scary, honestly. Or you might feel intimidated when you walk in and you see someone, hitting the bag. You're like, what is going on in here? I mean, I did. When I saw how people were hitting the pads, I was like, I gotta go. Like, this is insane to me. But it also worked for me as a superpower because I will not say when I started doing Muay Thai that I was the most comfortable in the space that I was in. I definitely wasn't, for factors that involve myself. Also, sometimes the way that other people make you feel. You got to block all that stuff out.
Were you self-conscious?
Of course. I was self-conscious, and also some people did not want to work with me.
Right.
They didn't want to work with me. It's a different group of people here, different demographic. No one wanted to work with me. They didn't want to work with the girl. So what I did was I made sure that, okay, you don't want to work with me. That's okay. I'm going to learn how to, for example, in Muay Thai, we do this thing called pad holding. I said to myself, I don't have the skills right now to be able to hit in the way that other people do. However, I'm going to train myself that in a way that I'm very good at pad holding so that no one would ever shy away from working with me. And what that means is that I pushed myself to hold in a way that was better than most of the guys.
Right.
To the point where you could smash the pads, you could kick and punch, and it was like, oh wow, she knows how to really hold. And because I started doing that, I started being able to work with more of the different teammates and the guys that were
a little bit more elite.
Yeah, more
even
elite.
some of the guys turning pro.
Yeah, I was able to, because it didn't hurt me. It didn't hurt me for them to kick,
And the fear.
there wasn't that anymore. Instead of, and I had moments where I was upset. There were times where I left in my car crying, if I'm being honest, because you want to be good at something so bad and you try your best and you feel discouraged and you feel badly about yourself and you think, when am I gonna get good? Why don't I look like the next person? But that fueled me. It fueled me because I'm still doing it.
Which is different from earlier we were talking about where you go into a gym and you belong to a gym and you go in and you have no idea what you're doing.
Yep.
What would the fuel be there? You know what I mean? Like, keep going to the gym?
Yes, it would be, because there are times where I didn't want to go in because I was like, what's the point, right? Someone may not want to work with me when that was early on in the journey, but I just kept going.
Right.
I kept going. It was like, what am I also paying for this membership for if I'm just going to sit home and overeat?
Yeah.
Just sit and watch TV?
And you just finished doing that.
Exactly. You just finished doing that. You just had a bowl of, like, what are you doing? going. And I still get people that ask me now, like, what do I have to do differently? See, and this is a conversation that I feel like some people also don't like to have is, yes, some people walk into a space and they might be a freak of nature, right?
Yeah.
They may have played sports before, maybe someone played soccer, whatever. You got people that are athletic, right? So they tend to, in the sport, sometimes get really good within the first year and a half.
Right.
Whereas some of us, it took us like 8 years.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that my journey is different than anybody else's, right? We're not the same. However, doesn't mean that we're less than. It doesn't mean that my journey is better than yours and vice versa. It's just that people work differently, our brains work differently, right? So you also can't look at the next person that's coming into the space, right? That looks like that after a year and a half. Some people also don't have the patience, is what I'm saying as well.
Right.
They leave.
And they give up.
And they give up.
Yeah.
And it's one of those journeys that you see people come and go there. And I've been at it for so long, right? That I've seen so many people come back too. They do come back. There are people that leave and then you see them 7 years later or 5 years later because it
and
is.
they get the same struggle.
They have the same
Meanwhile, if they
struggle.
would have stayed that whole time, they would have kind of beat it a little bit,
Absolutely. The biggest part is going in and just not caring about anybody in these spaces. You're there for yourself. You're not there to impress anybody. You're there to impress yourself and evolve. And it
get
is
better.
and get better. And that's another thing too. People step into these gyms or these MMA gyms and it's this illusion to them.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of them like to post and say, hey, I go to so-and-so.
Right, and they show you a little 10-second clip of them and on the bag, and you're just like, okay, but how'd you look after 5 minutes?
Right.
How'd you look after 10 minutes?
Right.
There are different levels to this. Even myself, I'm still transitioning and learning. And we talked earlier about just kind of like, what changed, For me, once I lost the weight, once we started doing different workouts and then the bar specifically, that was a big thing because I was hitting harder. I was punching harder. So what I'm saying is you also never know what your journey is going to lead into.
Right.
I came here by accident.
Right.
I was at the other gym. I had no idea this place existed and it was 5 minutes away this entire time.
Yeah.
But I, honest to God, feel as though had I not put myself and said, I'm going to keep on working out, I know this is really hard, I don't think I would have gotten better at Muay Thai. And I don't mean to sound negative. I think that I knew how to do certain things, but there were limitations on my body. And you know that, and a lot of people know that, especially because the more and more I started doing things here, people started asking questions.
Right.
They were like, oh, well, what are you guys doing over there? Oh, wow, no civilian gets good at Muay Thai.
Right.
That's not normal. And it was like, it's him.
Yeah.
It's the bar. It's the stuff. I mean, I couldn't even sit down and squat. When Muay Thai is all about kicks and hip mobility, I was gaining hip mobility in my 30s, something that I did not significantly have before.
Right.
So it is astonishing. And I know I'm going on a rant here.
That's fine.
No, but
that was the same thing. Like after, I think it was COVID, after COVID, I sat there and I was like, I can't even, like I got tight, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Hey, hon. Hi. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't even, lift my legs up anymore. And I did a lot of static stretching. So reason why I went to Muay Thai is for flexibility, right? And just like I remember as a kid, I used to catch flies out of the air, And as I got older, I couldn't even hit them with a fly swatter. And I'm like, that, for me, that was like brain-body connection. And I'm like, look, I can go hiking and stuff like that, but because I boxed for a long time, but there's no movements that are moving my hands and my elbows and my knees and my feet, turning in all these different planes. And for, I think it was close to 3 years, I could not kick his thigh. Like I would swing, throw the kick, and all it through my hips. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I talked to a doctor and he was like, oh, most guys need hip replacements because their hips freeze up. And that's the first thing I thought, these hips can't freeze. I got stuff I want to do in life, you know what I mean?
Right.
So after about the 3 years of Muay Thai, now I'm able to, he's 6'2", I'm able to kick up towards his face now.
No issues,
that
right?
that I couldn't do before. I used to scream. I said, ah, whenever he pulled my leg,
I would tell you too, with the workouts here, I was like, I have not had an issue. I used to have like issues with my hip flexors.
Yeah.
I don't have those issues anymore. And I feel like it has a lot to do with the workouts that we do here.
Yep.
And because another theory I had was when I was kicking before the trainings and stuff, I wasn't kicking right. So
Right.
that's why you're blowing out your flexor every time. You're not even whipping the kick the right way, but I think it's because I wasn't able to.
Right.
My body, you saw, I could not do certain things. My
Right.
body was kind of limited.
And now it's crazy because now you have the most flexibility out of anybody.
Which
You know
is
what I mean?
insane.
Which is insane. And that's what it is. Like when we do all these things, like the planks, the reverse plank, the plank walks, the finisher froggers, we go through full range of motion, right? But you can't do it unless that spine is aligned. And the only way you can get it aligned is hitting those 5 muscles we were talking about earlier, right?
Right.
But at the same time, in a plank to do it, right?
Yeah.
So when we align and we get better posture, then we can start working on flexibility. We can start throwing punches in a plane and be able to get there.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
Instead
right,
of rotating and go, oh, like golfers, you know?
Yeah, no,
Same
no.
thing.
No, I agree. But, you know, just to kind of carry on for what you said, asked earlier, yeah, the biggest thing is women, men, whoever, specifically my girls, go into the gym. Also find people that have similar interests that you do as well.
Right.
Also, sometimes the spaces that you walk into, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know the type of people you're going to meet, the unlikely friendships that you make as well. You know, you meet people just trying different things, and then you find this common ground that, hey, we're here for the same thing. That would be another thing. I found it very hard in the beginning, specifically with Muay Thai, to find people who didn't do Muay Thai.
Right.
And then it became a thing also of like, why do you do this so much? And then are you doing it too much? It's very weird also how people kind of get with your experience because they try to turn it into a negative, which I think is so bizarre because how is fitness bad?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
When there's so many other bad things, but also finding people that like the same things that you do that aren't negative.
Right.
Because also that can be a problem as well. You're training all the time and you're sacrificing a lot of your time to train. That was a big thing too. You're sacrificing a lot of your time, right? And people don't understand what for.
Right.
For me, it was like, I'm doing this for me.
Right.
I didn't know why.
Right.
I just knew that I wanted to do it. You know, like I said, something inside of me was like, just keep going. I would be dead tired,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Get up, go to class.
Right.
A lot of people won't do that.
Right. So that's the same mental aspect of it. So mentally, so we go through a thing where it's physical, mental, emotional, and then spiritual, right? So if you can align those 4 things, and then we can say, I've built myself in all 4 of those categories, then I take that's my winning formula, right? So
Yeah.
get up, get here all the time, get to your training.
Yeah.
It actually seeps into all the other aspects of your life,
Absolutely.
you know? And that becomes who you are, not of who you used to be, you know? And I find like most of the people, like, they just don't, how they are in one aspect,
Yeah.
a lot of them are like that across the board on everything they do.
It's true.
Like sometimes I train these kids in there, I'm like, I could guarantee you, if I went to your house and I was a little fly on the wall, this same person would come out, you know? But if we can start early, build these kids up, they'll start bringing that to the table and putting throughout their lives rather than this, you know, rather than where they are. And I always find too that I'm not just coaching the kid, I'm also coaching the parent because for some reason they all feel bad for something. Like, oh, he was skiing yesterday, so I gave him today off. I'm like, he was skiing yesterday, so you gave him today off.
Yeah.
Who can get away with stuff like that?
I
You say that
don't
at work.
know.
Oh,
I don't know.
my boss, I went to work all week. I'm taking next week off.
I wouldn't have a job.
Right.
I wouldn't have a job, you know? But you're right, it does relay into your real life, right? I go into work, I work with kids, right? But I'm always pretty much energized. I always have the energy. I have usually a very positive outlook when I'm at work because you spend
Now,
most of the time.
before you get going,
Yep.
tell our listeners what exactly you do for work
So
and how is it different than.
So I work in a school. I'm a teacher's aide. Monday through Friday, and then after school, I'm a behavioral technician. I work with kids with special needs, autism. It's very different, like, you know, it's definitely different than what I do outside of school, right? But I will say this, right? With exercise, with Muay Thai, with what we do in here, it gives me the utmost patience to deal with a lot of stuff like that. Most of the times I'm either restraining or running after the children, and I feel like it's become this sort of ongoing joke where people know that I'm fit. I'm gonna be honest, because that ends up happening. People know that I'm fit, and what ends up happening is they go, "Oh, Eman, call Eman to go get so and so," you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, this is why I wish I never told any of you people that I did any of this stuff in the gym. But what I'm saying is, it turned into a positive, because it's like, all right, well, who can we look to? Because I can't go,
Right.
I can't pick this little boy up,
Right.
I can't, and you know, jokingly, you don't want to hurt yourself in doing these things, but because I'm physically capable, I would argue that several years ago, I probably would not be able to do any of these things. I'll be real. So I work with kids, and it can be very mentally draining, but I love what I do.
And they're strong.
They are,
Right?
but it's
so
like
they also bite.
Yeah. Yes. You never know what you're gonna get, right? Because with kids on the spectrum, it is unpredictable, right? So you have to, like I said, I have to also watch myself sometimes too, where I'm like, oh, I'm being a little too strong, you know? And I don't mean it, it's just the stuff that we do in here. I have to be like, oh, you need to not leave no marks because you're about to get in trouble here. But when it comes down to working with those types of children and temperament, I do feel like I'm able to deal with it a lot better than the average person, thankfully. And it's not for everybody, but I love it, because then when I'm at work, I be rushing to come to this workout. Like, I'm like, all right, I'll get me out of here.
You need it for your head at that point.
Yes,
right?
because
So that's the mental aspect of it.
Yes, I'll be so stressed at work that I'm like, I can't wait to go exercise. I can't wait to, and I was never like that. I'll be honest with you. Several years ago, I'd have been like,
Yeah, right.
let's go right to home, right to the bed.
Yeah.
But
and right to what? Right to eating something off the
something
diet.
that's not, you're not getting, it's nothing fruitful from it. You're not getting anything out of just doing nothing, right? So, yeah, you know, it's a hard job. It's not for everybody, but I like it.
Yeah.
And the children like that I'm into what I'm into. I try to bring that into the space and ask them if they do martial arts and things like that. Even myself, recently, a couple of months ago, I did like a collab with one of my bosses where we tried to do a Muay Thai class for her clientele with the children that are all on the spectrum. And they really enjoyed it because it's a lot of cardio. You work on your motor growth, you know, how you move in. And let me tell you something. I die after like an hour. We went over an hour with those kids. It was like going almost 2 hours, and they kept going.
Yes.
Which made me want to also tap into another area with this journey. That's what I'm saying. You do all this physical stuff, and then you come up with other ideas, and you think, okay, well, this is good for me, but how can I help someone else out, right?
Right. Serving.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
so
we're here to serve.
we are here to serve, for sure. So, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. One of the things, one of the questions, there's two questions. One is, what aspect of your training, the ICC 30, do you like the most? Like the actual exercise.
We do so many in here. I really like, and you know what I'm going to say, I like the crab walk, but it's only because I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of easy to be biased and go, well, I like that one because I just, you know, that one is really great. They're all great. I really love the reverse crab walk. I think it's really great. I also enjoy, honestly, anything that we can do as far as like the bar. I love doing the single leg deadlift hops because that helped me tremendously with Muay Thai. And because I'm doing it consistently every week, multiple times, I really am seeing how my balance has also persevered from the beginning, you know, especially with my left leg, it's not my dominant, right? But now it's getting to a point where I'm like, wow, it's actually, you're starting to be able to get around the room, you know? Yeah, which is great. I also love curl pressing with the bar as well because I don't have to actually use weights.
Right.
And I never was a person that used weights before. And not that I wouldn't have been fond of it. I tried, but it wasn't something that I enjoyed. But I would prefer to just use the bar because I also saw better results with it.
Right.
So anything
Yeah.
with the bar, I really love. Also, I enjoy some of the stuff in the straps as well.
Right.
You know, the knee tucks, those are really great. People probably won't believe me, but I do like when we have to challenge ourselves and we're in the straps and we're doing the plank hold. It is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
But I also like that it's incredibly difficult.
Right.
Because it's like, all right, come on.
And it's funny, you see how it works out. Like in the beginning of your journey, you wouldn't want to do anything hard.
No.
And the first thing to do is, if it's hard, let me stop.
Absolutely.
And now you're searching for it,
Yes.
you know?
Because I'm seeing that when I'm not doing certain things, or like even when I work out with, sometimes I work out with Miranda and we talk about, like, let's say there's not something that we're doing with the bar, right? And I'm like, I don't like to be off that bar more than 1 week. No, because I start stressing because I'm like, really, like, you need to keep at it. Once you stop, you start feeling it.
Yeah.
That's why I don't really like to miss any days, especially with those types of things. And like I said, I've seen how my body physically, not the look, but how it feels has progressed with that over there.
Right.
I don't want to lose that strength. I don't
Right.
want to lose that tightening. I don't want to lose the core that I've built. I don't want to lose that grip strength that I've built doing that. But you have to be consistent.
Right.
Like
right.
you can't just not do it for 2-3 weeks. It feels like you have to start all over
Oh,
again.
yeah.
So I
Yep.
love a lot of those things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, the fun question.
Okay.
All right. So you did 2 fights,
Yeah.
right? So you didn't expect at all to get into fighting when you first started this. And all of a sudden, you see people, you know, and you're padded up a little bit. You got headgear on.
Yeah.
Right. You got bigger gloves.
Absolutely.
It's still hard and you still get hit. You know, that wasn't anything that you wanted to do when you first started doing it, but you did too, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, not sure if you're going to do another one. You may not. Depends on what life brings you.
Right.
But let's say you could fight anybody.
Oof.
And you're at that level, or they're at your level.
Oh,
like
if I
who would
could?
you, who would you,
Okay, so
and out of respect, not like, oh, I'm
Oh
gonna
my
beat this
God,
person
no,
up.
no,
Yeah,
no, out of
just
respect,
let me
I
in the
would
ring,
love to
let me
fight.
train with this one girl, and then, you know.
I would love to fight Stamp Fairtex. Lover. Just would love it. It would be very hard. We're gonna keep it real. We're gonna be, because she's been doing this since she was like 5. Like competing. You know, I watch her and I watch a lot of the female fighters through one championship. Just because there's more of a little bit of a diversity for me that I like better, because you really get to see the pool of talent of also women internationally, which I'm always impressed by. But definitely her for sure. She's great. She's great. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's almost like not like a fight, but a
Right.
fight / learning /
Absolutely.
spar with or something like that, you know.
Absolutely. I've watched her. She's amazing. And the reason
And
why I
what
really
is
like
she?
her, so she is from Thailand, but what I really like about her too is that she started out doing Muay Thai, but as she continued to level up, she started to experiment more with like MMA type stuff
Right.
at her gym. And lo and behold, she's really good at that too. And every time I'd watch some of her fights and the fights that she would win that did have some like MMA rules, it was really fascinating because it was like, wow, you under that amount of time, you've been able to learn like grappling. Like you just have that like dog in you.
Now, the awesome part of that is just what you said. Once you find where you need to be,
Yep.
the same formula, right? She took the same thing to become good at Muay Thai, to become good at this,
Yes.
to become good at this. Let's say you're a poor driver,
Yeah.
right? Do you remain a poor driver, or do you say, you know what, I'm gonna just start watching driving videos? I hate driving in the snow, you know?
Right.
So I'm never gonna drive in the snow, but something happens, you gotta get. It's that same thing, and you just expressed that when you were talking about her and how she was doing one thing and how she's able to get in there and, you know, not skip a beat,
It's just
learning
amazing.
something new, you know?
Amazing.
And you know what that is? That's your subconscious. Like, we learn something in life and then we put it in our subconscious. You ever drive here and go, oh shoot, I'm here already?
Yeah.
Right. So that's
sure.
your subconscious.
Right.
In order to learn something new, you got to pull it out of the subconscious of what you knew, change it, and then put it back. You might have to do that as you progress, right? You throw a punch, and then they show you a different punch, and you're like, wait a minute, you showed me this punch. Why you show me this
Right,
punch?
right.
So that's your subconscious. Most people are afraid of change. Most people don't like change, but you need change to first keep that brain sharp, and secondly, get rid of the ego and the arrogance, right? So when I travel, my wife and I, we go all over the country and all over internationally, and all of a sudden it's like I'm showing somebody something new and they're fighting me the whole time on it
Yeah.
because his subconscious is saying to himself, "Oh, I know this already," but you really don't.
No.
So instead of admitting it, I'm now fighting with you over something that's science.
We don't know everything.
We don't know everything.
And we need to be okay with that.
We need to be okay with
we
it.
need to be okay with
Yeah.
that. No, but like, that's the thing, once again, I would have never thought in general that I would do a smoker.
Right.
It just did not seem like it was ever in the cards for me. But after a while of doing a lot of the workouts, and I was like, oh, I could do this, And it was more so of like, I wanted to challenge myself.
Right.
Because it was a very, like you said earlier, it is not something easy to do.
Right.
I don't like an audience. I don't like being in front of a pool of people. And it is scary, even with headgear.
Yes.
And in my experience, I was fighting girls that were 10 years younger than me.
Right.
But once again, what I felt really good about was the fact that, you know what? I had a positive experience. I may not have done everything that I wanted to because this was new, but I was actually proud that I was able to keep up because of my cardio, with my age and in comparison to who I was fighting. And it made me realize that, that stuff really doesn't really matter necessarily because you weren't really as gassed as someone that was 10, 15 years younger than you,
Right.
which, it like motivated me.
Yeah.
It was like, all right,
Yeah.
you know what, can you keep pushing?
Right.
Can you,
Right.
try to keep pushing, see how far you could take this, or your physical journey, you know what I mean? So it makes me think about that too, because it was never a possibility in my mind, really. I would have never even put myself in that kind of position. But I was like, you know what? I want to do something hard. It's scary, but I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a go. And you know what? I hope that could also be an example for someone to be like, hey, when I started out this gym, you want to see what I look like? No, respectfully. You want to see what I look like? I was never, don't rule yourself out, even if everybody else does.
Right.
That's how I look at it, because I always also love the underdogs of these gym spaces, and I'll always say that. And I would consider myself something like that because I feel like when I joined the gym, people thought I wouldn't last after 3 months. And I'm like one of the longest members there and one of the only women that still consistently is training, is doing Muay Thai because I just fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Simply. I fell in love with it, and I fell in love with what kind of community it brings, So, definitely.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. That's awesome. Well, it was, great having you on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're starting this channel, and it's actually amazing. I listened to a guy named Myron Golden, and I'm sure I told you about him. He's a pastor, and he started doing his Bible study, and he started just turning the camera on. So every time I do something, I say, just turn the camera on, right? And I'm just turning the camera on, and each week we keep getting better and better and better, come up with better questions, come up with better titles, come up with better information to help serve people,
Absolutely.
So in this whole journey that you're having and that you're on for fitness and health, just getting rid of fears and stuff like that,
for sure.
and also with the Muay Thai, being able to defend yourself if you need to.
Absolutely.
But even just aligning your body with those core principles, the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, and then getting in those plank position, aligning your body, getting your body in a position where it could be positive, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then saying, okay, you know what, I'm going to bring this into my later years, because if I'm a certain way and I'm not built up, what's it going to look like in my 40s, in my 50s, in my 60s, where most of these people come to terms with it and then they just give up. They say, I'm 40, or I'm 50, or I'm 60, I'm good,
I don't want that at all.
Right, and you could show by even just doing these kind of workouts, like it might be like a little scary in the beginning, But even older people, we have people in here 60-something years old, 68,
Absolutely.
65.
Absolutely.
And we start them with a plank. So we're aligning that body, trying to do 15, 20 minutes of a plank.
It's for everybody.
And once you do it, then we can start plank walking. So it all progresses at your ability, you know?
It's for everybody.
Yeah.
It is for everybody. No one should walk into a space and feel like they can't do something because of their age or
Right.
what they look like, you know? But like you said, people have been
Yeah.
coddled and sort of brainwashed.
Yeah.
And the things that they eat too
Yep.
come into combination of why you have this fear or the brain fog that you usually talk about and things like that, where you can't even think clearly and see what you can do for yourself or persevere even in the future. It doesn't seem like a thought at all.
Right.
You're okay with just kind of staying
Yeah.
stagnant,
Yeah.
which is not fun. And you're
That's
right.
the subconscious.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't want to. I don't want to be, you know, in my 50s and I want to be able to go up the stairs and not feel winded. I want to be able to be healthy and also transcend and evolve even more.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, it was great having you on.
Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
Probably have you on again later, you know?
That would be great. Thank
We'll
you.
go into even more detail,
Oh,
right?
yes, absolutely. Hopefully it'll be a next fight or something
Yeah,
by then.
yeah,
But
yeah.
definitely just, you know, once again, I would just say, don't be scared. Walk into the gym, just do it. And if you want to get good at Muay Thai, more reps.
Yep, more reps.
One class is not enough.
Just walking
more
in.
reps.
Just
More
walk in.
reps. More
Yep.
reps. So thank you.
All right,
Thank
awesome.
you so much.
Thank you so much. We're here with Eman, and we've heard her fitness journey and how she is going to continue. And we'd ask if you could subscribe and join us and see the rest of the people we have on here on our podcast and see their journey and the things that they want to get out of life. All right. From me to you, praise God, and may God go before you. And if you have any questions, send me any messages, and I'll answer them, because I don't really have a lot of people to answer right now. But so I'll
He's just like,
definitely
he's
answer
booked and
yours.
busy. That's what he means. He's booked and busy.
Exactly. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, it's off.
All right.
Thanks, John.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope I
Nice.
wasn't shivering over here. I'm like,
No, no,
he's probably
no.
like, why her voice sound like that?
Well, I was watching you walk in, and I was like, I got to get her to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, that's okay. I feel much better, though. That was
Yeah.
great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate that. He was like, just be normal.
It was still rolling.